together my top 5 movies that, let's put it this way, the best way I can describe a top 5 movie is A, if I'm invested in the plot, B, if I could sit and watch it at any day, at any time, if it's on TV, I'm putting it on and I'm watching it, and C, there's something that's got me hooked, about it. So, we're going to talk about my top 5 movies today. Now, the top 5 movies that I have are in any order, not any particular order, and actually, I must confess, Brittany and I must confess that one of these is a series, because I could really watch most of them at any time. I think there are some better than others, but it's a series. But if it's on TV, I'm definitely putting it on. I actually own all of them too, so I guess you could go that route. Let me know in the comments below for top 5 or one of your favorite movies are, because I feel like movies, while as unrealistic as they can be, they always teach you something, right? They always come through with the underlying message of something that can help someone. So let me know what that movie is, and if you remember or live by the underlying message, please include that below too. So, without further ado, here we go. One of my top 5 movies, not actual number 1, but one of, I really have gotten into lately because I saw it on TNT, The Accountant, with Ben Affleck. I'm already losing thought. Ben Affleck and Jon Bernthal. If you don't know who Jon Bernthal is, Jon Bernthal was Shane in The Walking Dead first couple seasons. Tremendous actor, really good at his parts, really believable, and I get so invested in his movies. Anyways, this is about a guy who gets called in to figure out where missing money was in a company, and Ben Affleck, that is. And because a junior accountant who was played by Anna Kendrick, she makes me happy. Anyways, Anna Kendrick finds missing money, or books that don't, line up, and they call in the accountant to come in and study it. He goes through 15 years of records overnight and finds $61 million missing, in which then he gets promptly pulled off the case, and Jon Bernthal, who's a hitman, gets called by the owner guy, and I can't remember who that actor is, but he played on Third Rock from the Sun, I think. Anyways, so he gets called in and basically tries to kill Anna Kendrick and Ben Affleck, and he has a group of hitmen, and he's the kind of the ringleader of it, and so they go around trying to kill them, in which they aren't successful because Ben Affleck he has Asperger's syndrome, and he is just a badass, for lack of better words. So he takes out everyone, and then goes hunting for the owner, and that's where he finds out that the Jon Bernthal's character, his name's Braxton in the movie, is his brother. So it's a very awesome movie. You could get a little lost a little quickly, and there's like 4 or 5 plots moving around in one. Because there's another plot where there's the Treasury deputy who's trying to figure out who this accountant is and threatens one of the junior Treasury people that she'll get exposed for lying on her federal application about a felony committing if she doesn't help him. So there's all these things wound into one. It's so good. Highly recommend it. So, but The Accountant, definitely think you should go there. The next one, which was my disclaimer earlier I have here, is the Bourne series. I say the Bourne series because there's only one of the movies that I didn't like, and it was the only one that didn't have Matt Damon in it. I love Jeremy Renner movies, but that fourth Bourne was pretty bad. wasn't Jeremy Renner. It was everything about it, just terrible. Anyways, but the Bourne, Identity, Supremacy, Ultimatum, and then Jason Bourne. Those were so good, so good, so good. It gets me going every time, like sitting there watching them. If you don't know anything about them, I highly suggest you look them up and watch them. But the quick version, they are Matt Damon plays Jason Bourne, and Jason Bourne is a rogue, not quite a rogue agent, but he was brought in to be like a sleeper agent or an agent you wouldn't know, and that he failed his mission of trying to kill a guy in a boat initially, and because the guy's family was right there, and so he gets shot. This guy who he was supposed to kill shoots him. Naquana Wambosi shoots him in the back, and he falls into the ocean, and they find him a couple days later. A random boater finds him, gets him all together, but he has no recollection of what happened, and then it becomes a Matt Damon versus the government kind of situation. So it gets very interesting, and he is such a badass and can kick ass and take names and shoot people and is resourceful, and you don't know how all this happens. That's one thing I don't explain, is how they do little flashbacks of his training where he was held underwater and stuff like that, but never really any more of his resourcefulness or how he gained the skills he has. So maybe that's one knock, is as I'm talking about it, I'm thinking of this. But nevertheless, awesome movies. Highly recommended, except for the fourth one. I don't recommend that one, but anyways, four of the five I highly recommend. So go watch them. Next, we have Good Will Hunting. Matt Damon, Robin Williams, and even Ben Affleck's in it. Awesome movie. This one is a longer movie. I think it's almost 2 hours or 2+ hours. But it's very, very interesting about Matt Damon's character, who he's really smart, but always gets in trouble. He's been in trouble with the law a handful of times. He's a mathematician, can read books like you wouldn't believe, speed read. Just super, super educated guy. And meets a girl, Skylar. I can't remember what actress she is. She's played in multiple movies too. But no matter what movie I see her in, it's still Skylar. So they've kind of fallen. No, she's at MIT or Harvard. No, she's at Harvard. Excuse me, Harvard. He works at MIT. She goes to Harvard. So she's super smart. He's super smart, but he has no education. He has no family. He's had a rough go at it. But they get together, then they break up, and then he goes back. But he has to go see his therapist, who is played by Robin Williams. And their interaction, their push-pull, Matt Damon's unwillingness to be there, and Robin Williams' unwillingness to let him not learn something and get something out of it, was absolutely incredible. Highly recommended. If you've got a handful of hours and can't find a movie to watch, go watch Good Will Hunting. So many life lessons can come out of that movie, and definitely a good laugh, and just an all-around great movie. Just my real quick break here in the action here to talk about how good I look with this light. Gosh. My fourth of my top 5 is Rounders. Rounders is a poker movie. I used to really love playing poker. I still do here and there, but I don't nearly as much as I used to. It used to be a almost daily occurrence. I was playing some kind of poker, whether it was online or in person with friends when I worked at a golf course. It was always Always a thought. Always, like a middle part of my brain, not like back middle. It wasn't always on my mind, but it was kind of like, yeah. Anyways, Rounders has Matt Damon and John Malkovich. And John Malkovich plays a Russian, Russian mob boss, underground poker club boss, who's really good at poker, and he ends up taking a bunch of money off Matt Damon, who's really good at poker, early in the movie, and then has a friend who loses money and helps him pay back the debt, and then gets in with the wrong crowd and gets kicked out of clubs. And then, come the end of it, he goes back to the club. Oh, and by the way, he's doing this all as a law clerk. So there's an awesome scene in the middle of this where he goes into the judge's game. And the judge's game is a bunch of court judges who are playing a random game of poker, maybe dealer's choice or something like that. And he stops in to drop off some papers. And he ends up playing the judge he works for hand and bluffs everyone out of probably 20 or 30 bucks. Nothing crazy, but still. So that was a pretty awesome part. But the banter going back and forth with that. Anyways, so he ends up borrowing money from that judge to pay back his debt. He didn't even just go in and pay it back. He went in to use it to win more, to then pay back the total debt, and ends up going in and winning what he came back with, plus a couple $100 or something, like $1,000, and then was gonna leave, and John Malkovich goads him into staying, and he ends up winning, like doubling what he had just then. Awesome scenes, awesome. If you're a poker fan, highly recommend it. It's got some funny scenes to it. It's got some serious. I usually don't like those kind of movies where it's like funny, serious. It's like it's the Medea effect, the Medea rule. I have nothing against the Medea movies, but you could not get me to watch those because the funny moments get me, and then you go right to this serious moment, and you can't tug at my heart like that, man. Come on, Tyler Perry. Anyways, and number 5 on my list, once again, not number 5, but the 5th movie in my top 5, one of the 5 of my favorites. Troy with Brad Pitt. I know no one saw that one coming. Troy with Brad Pitt and Eric Bana. Basically set around the Helen of Troy story, where, Helen leaves one of the Spartan, why am I drawing a blank? Leaves one of the Spartan rulers to go with Orlando Bloom to Troy, and they gather up all their guys and head in to kill Troy, and no one has ever conquered Troy because their walls are so big, and it's a pretty legit story. You actually pretty much see it in everyday life today, except not going to a country that has walls built up around its city. I mean, you see how many times that do women or men leave their spouses to go be with another spouse. It's a very common story, except this one happens to be set in, years, ancient times, where there's city walls, and they haven't been busted ever by any country, any army. And so it's very interesting because then Brad Pitt has a romance with one of the priestesses from Troy, and he ends up, his brother gets killed in it, and he goes and then kills Eric Bana, who's kind of like the Prince of Troy. He is the Prince of Troy at the time. Kills him in a one-on-one duel, and then Orlando Bloom steps up and ends up killing Brad Pitt in the end, because of the whole Achilles thing. There was one spot on his body that wasn't dipped in the river Styx and deemed immortal, and that was his Achilles tendon area, in which Orlando Bloom cut perfectly. He couldn't swing a sword, but he could shoot a bow and arrow through somebody's Achilles tendon. less realism or not. Great story, super long movie. You gotta have time to watch that one. That's 2.5 hours minimum. I think it's actually 2 hours 42 minutes. But it's one of my favorites, one of my all-time favorites. It's been around for a while. I put it on often. Brad Pitt. I don't like to go. Let me put it this way. That movie is probably the only movie around that I oogle over the way Brad Pitt looks. It just looks, he's so fit. He moves with such conviction. He's got that presence, that aura, that aura of badassery, for lack of better words. Highly recommend you watch it if you are having confidence issues, which I still do have confidence issues. I've kind of gotten away from the caring what other people think stage doing these YouTube videos, whether it's here or on my other channel, Matt Freakin' Deacons. I've really cut out the who gives a crap what people say or think. I've gotten that way out of my head now, which is good because that was consuming a lot of me for a while. But that movie helps me even when I'm having confidence issues, just to, you can be that person too. You can be the one to go out there and look like a badass machine and totally jack people up. So, anyways, those are my top 5. I just got really into it there. Those are my top 5 favorite movies, or with one series in there. I hope you all have a wonderful day, and always be the best you in everything you do.